Out in the vast, deep blue expanse of the Indian Ocean sits Agalaga. It's a tiny, densely forested coral atoll, disconnected from the rest of the world. For decades, it was home to just 300 people who made a quiet living fishing and harvesting coconuts. But over the last 10 years, this forgotten speck of land became the site of a massive $250 million construction project. And the funding didn't come from the local government. It was entirely bankrolled by India. Look at this map of the island's recent development. You can see how an enormous 3-kilometer airstrip now cuts across almost the entire northern landmass. Right next to it, engineers carved out brand new deep-water jetties. Officially, diplomats from both India and Mauritius maintain a very simple explanation for all this heavy concrete. They state the project is purely civilian, a way to finally give the isolated local tribe reliable access to hospitals and emergency supplies. The engineering specs tell a different story. That runway, along with 2 newly constructed hangars, is exactly the size required to launch and recover the Indian Navy's heavy maritime surveillance aircraft, like the P-8I Poseidon, a highly advanced plane built specifically to hunt submarines. Historically, India has kept its military close to its own shores. So why is New Delhi quietly spending hundreds of millions to build a highly classified aviation facility nearly 3,400 kilometers away from its own mainland? To understand what's happening on Agalega, you have to look at the water surrounding it. The Indian Ocean handles a massive chunk of global shipping and energy transport. It is the most heavily contested maritime space on the planet. This map illustrates what strategists call the string of pearls. It's a deliberate campaign by China to build a network of commercial and military deep-water ports all the way around the Indian peninsula. On India's western flank, Beijing funded and developed the deep-water port of Gwadar in Pakistan, securing a permanent operational foothold in the Arabian Sea. Just below India's southern tip, China used high-interest loans to secure a 99-year lease on a major Sri Lankan port facility, establishing a hub capable of docking enormous cargo vessels and naval destroyers. And Beijing isn't the only power operating here. Right in the middle of the ocean, the United States maintains a sprawling naval facility on the Diego Garcia Atoll, complete with heavy bomber runways and massive fuel depots. That specific American base comes with a dark legacy. In the 1960s and 70s, the US and the UK forcibly expelled the entire native Chagassian population to clear the land for the military, a history that makes the locals on Agalega understandably nervous today. With American forces dominating the center and a Chinese network aggressively tightening around its borders, India realized that relying solely on coastal defense was a losing game. They had to push outward, or risk being choked off from global trade routes entirely. India's necklace of diamonds strategy secured ports in Oman, Iran, and Indonesia to check China's expansion, but a blind spot remained in the southwestern Indian Ocean. Agalega fills this gap, providing a platform to monitor ships traveling between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. That brings up a massive diplomatic question. How do you convince an independent nation like Mauritius to quietly hand over one of its islands to a foreign military? The answer goes back to the 19th century. During the colonial era, hundreds of thousands of Indian laborers migrated to Mauritius to work the sugar fields. Today, about 70% of the Mauritian population is of Indian descent. That cultural bond was cemented in 1983. When the government of Mauritian Prime Minister Anirudh Jugnauth faced a severe internal political crisis and a potential coup, India launched a covert military intervention that kept his administration from collapsing. That intervention built an unparalleled level of trust. Right now, the person managing Mauritius' internal security is a former Indian intelligence officer. The island's National Coast Guard and its police helicopter squadrons are commanded by active-duty Indian military personnel on deputation. India didn't need to execute a hostile land grab or trap Mauritius in unpayable debt. They simply leveraged a half-century of political loyalty and a big brother dynamic to quietly secure some of the most vital real estate in the ocean. Today, the thick jungle canopy of Agalega has been cleared to make way for a fully operational base. It functions as an unsinkable aircraft carrier anchored in the deep ocean. Think of it as a high-definition CCTV camera covering the entire southwestern sea. From here, Indian maritime patrol planes and heavy naval frigates can track foreign submarines and monitor global trade passing through the region's main commercial choke points. And unlike the historical Western powers that forcibly evicted islanders to build their bases, India followed through on its civilian promises. The native Agalegans kept their land, and they now have the modern hospitals and reliable supply ships they were told they'd get. In 2024, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mauritian Prime Minister Praveen Jugnauth formally inaugurated the completed airstrip, marking the end of a decade of quiet construction. Agalega stands as the physical proof of a permanent shift in New Delhi's maritime doctrine. India has shed its purely defensive posture, establishing itself as the proactive, undisputed security provider for the entire Indian Ocean.